So, welcome to this video about regreasing and cleaning two small vices. It's basically just a video I'm making to test video making and uploading for YouTube. So, ta-da, the two vices. They're not that in a bad condition or anything like that. The larger vise of them, machinist vise, I have been using for making knives, but there is a lot of grease because the previous owner packed them with a lot of grease and it extracted a lot of dirt into the spindle, so it makes it hard to retract. The smaller one here I bought very cheap because of the damages and so on. So you can see it's a record 412. The spindle works fine, and in general it just works fine. So that one is mainly a degreasing job and reapplying some fresh oil. Both of these vices I'll mainly be using for when I make knives. Another project later will be to make an extra part for the handle of the spindle. So we start by disassembling the small vise by removing the spindle fully, and then removing the part of the stock, the other part of the head. And it's a very simple vise, as you can see. It's just cast iron and then ground out, but it has a good fair piece of flat surface that can be used. So start by cleaning the most simple dirt and grime, some soapy water, just getting in everywhere, removing as much dirt as possible. And at this point I realized that the dirt I get away is fine, but the main part is actually grease. So I switched to a degreasing agent instead. But before I switch to that, I try using some abrasive fabric, so some Scotch-Brite I have. Scotch-Brite is in general really good for cleaning without damaging components, especially something that has to stay flat. Off camera I also gently lap them with my whetstones to clean as much as possible and to make sure that the surface is flat. This is just a testing video to see how well voice combination with video works. So later I'll mainly be showing some videos of my wood turning and so on, but this is just to see how well I can coordinate with the videos and how easy it is to edit them. So what I put on there is a degreaser, and I degrease all the parts. Because I've mainly been standing in a workshop with some really thick grease on them, and with a lot of dirt in the air and grease that just sticks to it. So after gentle degreasing, you can put it in water with a toothbrush and you can get off most of it. And now it's clear to see that it's a record 412. It's a nice little vise that's got a surprising amount of clamping power, even though the spindle is not directly attached to the vise head, to the moving jaw of the head. So very simple job, and now I just put some universal oil instead of grease because these small machinist vices don't need to be packed with grease. And as a show, I use my stones. I flatten I give it some laps with the stone just to remove some sharp edges I could feel. But you don't have to hear that unbearable sound of the stone rasping against it. Not that it's completely unbearable, but it's unnecessary for you guys to hear. I need to work on on the focus of the camera, I can see. I attached a spindle again. As you can see, there are these small holes that are meant to have a little arm so you can actually tighten it hard. Those are often missing on vices you buy used and cheap, so I have to try and fashion a new one for it. So, ta-da! So yeah, now on to the larger one, which I bought with my drill press. I might show. I have to fix my drill press soon, so I might show a video of doing that. To my surprise, the small set screw was actually super loose, so that could explain some slop I've been feeling with the vise. I've been using it for a couple of months now, but in general there's just some. Other than that, there was no problem that the spindle was packed with grease and dirt and grime. You should almost be able to see it in the tip that there's just so much grease and dirt. So I degrease it, let it sit a little before I remove it. Because if you do, if you don't remove as much dirt as possible and get the degreaser in there well, you can destroy both the spindle and the bore the spindle goes in. So you gotta clean it gently. Here I also discovered that there is a slight curve in the spindle, so I think somebody has put too much pressure on it at one point or another when tightening it. So it's not completely straight, but it's straight enough for what I use it for. There is some excess grease of the fatty kind, the packed grease. So I removed that a bit off camera. Now here's an interesting thing. Besides the screws, it is a different paint job. So the full body is gray, but here is a red paint. It turns out that this has been painted, it looks like twice, because there's also a little bit of red on the tail. So I removed this, clamped the jaw in place. It's just some surface rust, but mainly it's fine. It's not a hugely expensive vise or anything like that, and I got it for free along with a very cheap drill press, so I'm not complaining. I put the parts in some really soapy water and let them stay there to just degrease and loosen all the dirt that's on them. Some of it is my own fault because it's clumsy. It's grease and wood chips and sawdust. That's mainly the dirt that's on them right now. It's also the dirt in the corner that's sawdust and grease. When I rub my fingers, I just feel the surface. The surface is real decent, so. Yeah, what I just feel there is just a nice lump of old, dried out grease that's been packed in there. I think somebody's tried to do surface on it, but just didn't help them a lot. As you can see here, the second piece of paint, as I talked about, and it's close to where the the undercarriage of the vice head is running. I would give it a spindle a nice degreasing. I just rub it in nice and tight, and then I work my finger down it so we can get out all the grease that's packed inside. So I put my fingernail through the cloth and I start twisting, which results in a nice fat lump of lard when we get to the other end. So you can see, just attach it and just hold it tight, and then just turn the spindle like you would in the inside the vise. and that leaves, when you do it with a degreaser, a nice finish. And you're left with a lump of just nasty gunk, a bit of packed grease, and yeah, old metal shavings and old wood. So now the spindle is nice. The head has been blackened. Cold bluing technique. Also here is more paint, the different color, and the gray has been used. So I might at another point just strip the entire thing, but for now I'm just stripping the smaller part. Here I'm just cleaning the spindle bore gently, just to get rid of most of it. And I noticed while I did that there was actually a sharp edge. So cheap manufacturing, then you don't remove great. So I do that gently with a file, just to get rid of the burr. Now it's a matter of cleaning and drying off all the degreaser and grease, so we can strip. Yes, all the parts are now ready for for paint stripping. The little red part there is the one that I call the clamping part. So I use a very simple paint stripper for metal and wood paint stripping. Yeah, I'm not sponsored by ballast oil. It's just the oil I like to use. And here I'm just working also with a lot of different smaller cuts, because while I wear the gloves it's hard to to touch my camera, because the gloves are filled with grime and dirt. So then I just record a long thing and then cut on the way. There's a very meditative process actually cleaning these parts, looking at them on the way. So here I was actually surprised to see how cheap manufactured this actually is, because the cast is just not nice. There's not a nice surface finish of the cast. But I get it clean and I put some new bluing on it. Just a very thin coat of bluing. Just because now I've moved the paint, so now we need something new to protect against surface rust, which will be the bluing liquid. And now it's just a matter of reassembling it. So I put together first the one side of the vice jars, and then switching and tightening. Gotta have really tight vice jars, so there's as little slop as possible. The other ones, and the tracks here have been gently lapsed with a stone because there were some small grates on it, so I turned them down gently with a fine stone. I give a lot of oil for my spindle bore and my spindle, and it moves so much better now than when I just got it. I reattached the small set screw, and I ensure that I tighten it. I'll exchange this small set screw later with an Allen key one, so I can actually tighten it better than with a flathead. And here's the part that's actually bent, so that's why it's moving a little awkward. But as soon as we get past that, it starts to just slide on nicely. You should be able to see that there is less of the red paint down near the bottom tracks, and these have also just been gently lapsed with a small stone, because there are also some grates in the finish. And we're done and ready to go. I hope it's been a slightly entertaining video. I'm just working on how to do it. So, yeah, I'll post more of this, or I'll post my wood turning. Bye for now.